Are you one of many skilled South Africans without a formal qualification? You have the knowledge and want to further your employment but are met by dead ends. At Cornerstone Institute, we believe that your work and life experience should count for something. We are giving you the chance to reach your highest potential by using the unique skills and abilities you have picked up along your journey. Cornerstone Institute's alternative access routes has you, your experiences, and your skills at heart. If you are a past student looking to return to learning, or if you've gained experience through employment and want to or need to have a tertiary qualification to continue working, your relevant work experience and prior learning can now be assessed and may even count as an exempting part of your qualification. At Cornerstone Institute, we understand that your time is precious and we want to make it possible for you to accelerate your time to graduation wherever possible. Find out what your skills are worth and how they can contribute towards a recognized qualification. Visit www.cornerstone.ac.za for more information.
My name is Kumo Apani. I am a registered counsellor. I've been in practice for 2 years and I'm a graduate of Cornerstone Institute. When I was a child growing up, I didn't specifically know what I wanted to do, but I've always known that it had to do with some kind of care support work. I just realized that that's something that I'm called for and something that just came naturally for me growing up, so it made sense. I heard about Cornerstone from a friend of mine who actually went to Cornerstone Institute, and I decided to finally go for it and do it, so I enrolled. Funding was always a huge concern of mine. My family didn't have the means to support me, so when I finally heard about the bursaries available at Cornerstone, I applied for it and here we are. If it wasn't for the bursary, I definitely fear I would not have been able to be afforded the opportunity to be educated, to be trained. So I guess without this bursary, you could say I would not have been able to fulfill my childhood dreams. Thank you, Cornerstone.
In this time of great uncertainty, let us help you focus on one of the things you can be certain of: your education. Now is the time to earn your qualification and upskill yourself from the comfort and safety of your own home. We've been educating South Africa for 50 years. That means we're no stranger to a global crisis. We've got this and we've got you. Take control and speak to one of our student advisors. Email info@cornerstone.ac.za and enroll now. To further yourself, your career, and have more options in your life. We get it. In order to do this, you need to increase your level of earning. But in order to do that, most of the time, you need to further your education. However, in order to further your education, you need to pay for it. But in order to pay for it, you need to further your education.
However, in order to further your education, you need to pay for it. But in order to pay for it, you need to further your education. However, in order to further your education, you need to pay for it. But in order to pay for it, you need to further your education.
But this cycle can be broken. At Cornerstone, we don't believe that finances should be a barrier to quality education. Speak to one of our advisors today and email info@cornerstone.ac.za now. In this time of great uncertainty, let us help you focus on one of the things you can be certain of: your education. Now is the time to earn your qualification and upskill yourself from the comfort and safety of your own home. We've been educating South Africa for 50 years. That means we're no stranger to a global crisis. We've got this and we've got you. Take control and speak to one of our student advisors. Email info@cornerstone.ac.za and enroll now.
My name's Emily Foslow. I'm the Journal Manager at Cornerstone Institute. We've started the African Journal of Non-Profit Higher Education.
My name is Stephen Langtree. I've been with Cornerstone for just over a year, and I work as the Institutional Advisor on the African Journal on Non-Profit Higher Education.
My name is Jabulani Chitanga. I'm a lecturer in the Psychology Department. I'm also a chair of the Research and Ethics Committee.
So I'm Rudy Buys. I'm the Executive Dean. And I'm now also the editor for the journal, which is an incredible privilege.
The African Journal for Non-Profit Higher Education, or better known as the AJNPHE, aims to advance an African voice in global scholarly discourses on educational theory and practice unique to the sector.
This journal is not only exclusive to Cornerstone, it's open to everyone. It's an international journal, not only for South Africa, so anyone can publish in it. As the Research and Ethics Committee, we welcome each and every student and staff especially, so that we can publish in this journal. Not only staff at Cornerstone, but even from anywhere else.
What I think is significant about the opportunity to contribute to this journal is that Africa, as a continent, as much as South Africa, at this stage really struggles with the question of what knowledge directs higher education. Is it knowledge from all around the world, or is it our own? You might call that the project of decolonization. And very simply put, what that means is that when you're from Africa and you know the issues of Africa, that you write about them. And so what is exciting for me, and I think significant of this journal, is that it will give Africa voice. That is a project in decolonization.
So the contributions we're looking for include sort of original journal articles, and all our journal articles which are original will be double-blind peer-reviewed. And then we also look for book reviews and journal articles or book chapters which have been published previously, which we'll republish in the journal as well.
One of the most important things of such a journal is how you manage the oversight of a journal for quality purposes, for scholarly quality, for publication quality, for participant quality, and so forth. The way we do it is, of course, as per normal, with an editorial board that directs, the themes of the journal, and so we have an internal ethics, research and ethics committee of our Senate that also has oversight. And then, of course, in our editorial team, we only use professionals and specialists in the field. And when you mix those three things, the journal is going to be brilliant. Please write for us.
Well, anyone who wants to contribute to the journal, I would encourage them to make a submission. We do give feedback on an original submission, and because it's peer-reviewed, you'll get valuable feedback. So even if it doesn't get published, I think it will help you for future attempts to get published.
If you have any questions regarding submissions or any other questions, you can contact me via email.
Good morning to you all, and welcome to Cornerstone Institute's third and final day of Reclaiming Agency event. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all, both of you joining us virtually and here on campus. We will today run a workshop on self-leadership. There are so many components of self-leadership, and a lot has been written about it. Today we're going to deal with a very critical part of self-leadership. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome on stage today our facilitator and our speaker, Ms. Shamima McLeod. Shamima McLeod is an international facilitator, strategist, and executive coach who facilitates programs in South Africa, India, and all across the UK. She has partnered with organizations such as the Interaction, Mandela Rhodes Foundation, Gender Reconciliation International, the Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation, and Franklin Covey. Her partner company in the UK received the MCA Gold Award for Change Management, and one of their largest clients trained 11,000 staff in one of their top 4 UK banks. She has worked with several universities, including Free State and Stellenbosch, working with Gender Reconciliation International, facilitating workshops in gender and EQ leadership with UWC, UCT, and WITS. She has coached an MD of First National Bank, an area manager of Nedbank, heads of Woolworths Financial Services reporting into Exco, trained the MD of Ackermans, as well as students completing their PhDs and MBAs. Her speaking engagements have crossed the private and public sectors, including the Women's Innovation Trade Affair, Postbank SA, and FECIT. She has also conducted workshops for Tsiba, Education, and University of Cape Town in Leadership, Motivational States, and Gender. She is passionate about what she drives the human spirit to be at their best and achieve their best. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like now to hand over to Ms. Shamima McLeod. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction. So it's my first day today with Cornerstone. I've not done any workshops with Cornerstone before, so it's a real honor and a real privilege to be here today, and also to have a live audience that I can do some interactive work with. So I do know that this is a recorded session, and feel free, if you're watching it later, or if you want to do the exercise later, to just go back and play and pause and just do the exercises that way. Okay, are we ready to begin? Yay. So the topic for today is self-leadership for success. Okay. And when you hear the words self-leadership, actually, let me start by asking, how many of you are leaders? Okay. So my aim by 12:15 in the next hour is to have all your hands up, because we're all leaders, right? We're leading ourselves, we're leading our families, we're leading our children, we're leaders in our communities, we're leaders at work, we're all leaders. And it's about being able to have the agency to step forward and say, this is me, I'm leading my life, I'm making a difference in the world in some way, whether it's in my neighborhood, whether it's at work, whether it's at a school, it doesn't really matter. It's about what am I doing, and what are the goals and the vision for my life, and what am I doing to create that? Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at. So let's start with some basic questions. I like to think about leadership, and the image I have of leadership is that of a tree. And look at my beautiful tree that I've got here. Not bad. I'm lucky I'm married to an artist. So when I say self-leadership, and you think of this analogy of a tree, what comes to mind? If you look at this, what do we need? Like, what are the ingredients for self-leadership?
So it's definitely having a foundation and growing your roots before being able to grow further, and having the nourishment, enough water in this case, for a tree to grow, but at the same time being able to withstand environmental factors.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So if you use the word foundation, can you think of an example of what could be a foundation for leadership or self-leadership?
So knowing yourself better as an individual.
Yeah. Know thyself. Know thyself. That's critical. Start with you. Okay? This is very important. So any leadership book that you're going to pick up will talk about this in different ways. They'll say know thyself. They'll say mindset. They'll talk about EQ. They'll talk about, what are your practices that you do to know yourself. Okay? So thank you. Yachna. Shakira, what about you? You had your hand up. Or was it Leanne? Do you want us to come back to you?
No, so one of the first things that stood out to me is that there are various different branches on this tree. And I don't know if that's significant at all, but it just reminded me of how in your life you also have various different aspects that need to be, I guess, managed or led. So that was one of the first things I noticed.
Yeah. So I'm going to put this up. There are various aspects to who we are, right? And when you're leading, you need to take all those different aspects into account, okay? So I'm going to just write these aspects as self, others, and the third aspect is your context. So your context could be where you work, or it could be your home, it could be your community, whatever. So these three aspects are always at play. Self, others. So if we look at a work context, that's you working with your colleagues, and the context here would be Cornerstone, right? All with different needs. Fantastic, thank you. What else? Self-leadership.
One of the first points that comes to my mind is that when a tree grows, there's many trees that don't make it. And there's many trees that do. And those that set up a root system and a foundation quickest and the first are the ones that make it, because they're fighting for light. So they're trying to get to the top. You look at the Amazon jungle, it's trees right at the top that get all the light. So as self-leadership goes, there needs to be an element of, I guess you can, I don't know what to call it, maybe fight or survival mode, or some way that drives you to accomplish what you're leading towards. And I don't know how I would put that.
I'm going to write driver.
Okay.
You need to have a drive. So a drive could be your vision, your mission. It could be a goal, right? These are all drivers. And you're not going to be able to develop these trees if you don't have a vision and a mission and a goal. Okay, that's critical. You have to
Would that form part of your foundation?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that is very much
Yeah.
down there.
So then, if this is the foundation, and there we are working with ourselves and others and the context, what would be some of the ingredients that we would need to have to develop this?
I personally think it would be to understand your strengths and weaknesses, as well as understanding others' strengths and weaknesses, and being able to draw upon them.
So, I'm a bit offended. What do you mean weaknesses? Are you saying that I've got a weakness? You know, really? This is not a good way to start.
Yes.
These things, weaknesses.
So it would be points that individuals can improve on or need further development.
Yeah.
So it's refining skills and abilities.
So here, if you stop developing, you're dying. Okay? What was the other thing that you said, Yajma? It was...
Skills and abilities.
Yeah. Skills. Skills and abilities. Brilliant. Thank you. The tree is growing. We need to develop. We need skills. We need to understand what are the things, when we talk about weaknesses, what are our personal challenges? And we all have them. We mostly need to understand what are the things that trigger us. Leanne.
So I'm looking at the overall picture now, and I agree wholeheartedly that it needs to start with the right foundation. But I think with the right foundation as well, you need to have the right environment, because if you don't have the proper environment, you're not going to thrive. And I just think in terms of self-leadership, going back to a reflection that I had on yesterday morning's leadership and family structure, I think if you don't have the proper support, you're not going to thrive. So you need to, whether it's with your family or your own group of friends or whatever, but you need that support and nourishment in terms of a tree now to develop. So I think that's important as well.
Yeah, we need our mentor, we need our people, we need our supporters, the people that are going to stand by you and root for you no matter what. Like without judgment, just I'm with you, I'm behind you. And that's why people have mentors and coaches, and that's why there's women's groups and men's groups for these kinds of development. Yeah, very important. Thank you, Leanne. Anything else before we move on?
Nourishment, which is what Leanne said. I think that's a little bit different in my mind to support, is that the tree needs water, needs nutrients. And as leaders, we can't just keep on going. There's an element of wellness that we need to have to be able to make sure that we're strong as leaders.
So just to add on to Adam's point of wellness, I think we need to look at it as a whole. So it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. There are different dimensions.
And then if I could add to that, in order for a tree, I know we've spoken about the light element and the water element, but there's also the soil element and all these other things. And I think for me, in terms of self-leadership, what that comes down to is that even though it's the leadership of self, you can't grow as a leader without having and taking into consideration the other people and and, you know, sort of if in a work context, your team, or in a family context, your family, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all these different elements that contribute to the overall growth of the leader.
Yeah. So exactly that. So when we do a formal leadership model, we call what you're saying is have attention or focus. "100% of the time on yourself, 100% of your time and your energy on others, and 100% of your energy and time on the context." And they all are linked and they feed into each other all the time. Okay. So it is about attention and focus. Great. I think you've got it. It's like this is something that we are needing to be looking at and exploring when we're wanting to step onto this journey of self-leadership, right? So what do you think? How often must we be giving attention to this? Once a year? Once every 6 months?
Every day?
I wish. You know, this is a lot up here, and it takes a lot of effort. And I would liken this up to an acrobat who spins plates. And he spins one off his nose, off his hands, off his knees. Not all those plates are spinning at the same time, but he's pushing the ones that are just about to fall. And then he pushes that one, and then he pushes this one. But he's keeping them all up. And so I would imagine that you need to focus on where you need assistance or need help here. And just keep spinning the plates. They're not all spinning at the same time, but just keep spinning them. So it's really, I guess, up to the individual on how often they need to focus on their foundation or focus on their skills, because is this plate slowing down? Is it going to fall? Right, I need to spin it. And then let me go to that one. So that's kind of how I see this.
Yeah, it requires regular attention. I would say daily. Even if you can, you know, if you only have 10 or 15 minutes, do it. It's going to help you. If you're not doing a self-reflection every day, you'll be doing some of this right, and some of it will be really easy. So there'll be some parts of your life that'll be going really well, but then something's going to lose out, either others or the context or yourself. So you'll be like going great guns at work in the context, serving others, working with your colleagues, but then you get sick and you're tired and emotionally stressed because you're not giving yourself the energy that is required for you to keep going. So attention on all three circles is critical. Okay.
Sorry, Shem. No, I was just going to say, before we turn the page, I was wondering maybe we could just let the audience at home just look at that for a minute, because I wonder if it's not as easy for them to see as it is us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So going to the next piece, I was really lucky enough. I worked with the office of Stephen Covey called Franklin Covey, and some of you may know Stephen Covey. He wrote a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Anyway, so Stephen was an amazing man. He died recently, but I mean, we called him the leadership guru. He had something like 153 offices worldwide. He coached presidents in the US. He was part of the mediation between Iran and Iraq. I mean, he was just an incredible man. And he spoke about self-leadership and leadership as something, if you can look at it in terms of relationships. So the relationship with yourself, but then the relationship with others, like your family, your friends, your colleagues, your neighbors. And if you're wanting to, because the subject for today is success, if you're really wanting to have a successful relationship with your partner, have a successful relationship at work, you're going to need to explore those relationships. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to expand your leadership with yourself and with others, okay? So relationships is key. And he drew an analogy of, where is it now? With relationships, looking at something called an emotional bank account. Of course, because I can't draw a fly. Okay, so he came up with this concept of emotional bank account. So if you're wanting to develop relationships with others, there's certain things that you're going to need to invest in. You're going to need to do. It's like an action. Leadership is doing. It's an action. Okay? It's very basic. So, again, if we had to look at the context of I want to be a leader in my community, or I want to lead myself into my next goal, it's going to take some leadership. And it's going to take some people coming on board with you, either through applications, either through working with others, whatever. So how do you build relationships? How do you build that emotional bank account? And this is just a little example of a few things that you can do to build that account. And it's an investment. Okay, so it's an investment of time, of support. If you think about working in an organization, if I'm wanting to build my emotional bank account with Adam, I would need to be focusing on, am I being supportive towards him? Does he feel safe around me? Does he feel safe to come and ask me questions, to come and get information, to share ideas, to bounce stuff off? Does he think that I respect him? Does he know that I respect him? And if I'm thinking, I'm not so sure, then I would need to do certain things to get him to get the message, I really respect you, I really value you, I really value your opinion. What you say matters to me. I'm going to take it on board, okay? That's how you develop that relationship. Does he trust me? Will he share confidential information with me? If not, what can I do? Not to make Adam kind of go, yeah, did you see, hey? He doesn't trust me. He's not going to tell me anything. He's the problem. So it's all about, how do I take responsibility? If my answer is no, he doesn't trust me, particularly with confidential information, or not in all areas, I need to do something to demonstrate that he can trust me. So again, it's all about doing. So when you're thinking about developing relationships with yourself and with others, it doesn't matter if it's your husband or your wife or your child or your neighbor or a colleague, these are some of the examples that you're going to need to take into account. So if you're wanting to do this exercise at home, one of the things that you can ask is you can make some notes about who are the important relationships in my life that are key for my development, that are key for my leadership growth. Write those names down. And then ask these questions. Do they think that I'm supportive? Yes or no? Do they think I'm supportive enough? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, write down or have some thoughts about what can I do to change that? And, often sometimes what we do is we sit and we go, it's all their fault, eh? They must get the message. But they don't, and they can't. It's your responsibility to create that, okay? So, any questions about emotional bank account? Very simple. These are all very simple techniques, but sometimes we need to be reminded to be focusing on it, especially
safety-wise. When you talk about that, is that they feel safe with you, and that they can confide? Because I would imagine that this and this, they all kind of interlink. I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, and respect as well. So safe is, do I feel safe enough with you to share what Shakira did this morning?
What did Shakira do this morning?
Or do I feel, can I trust you with some information that I have that you won't judge me as wrong? Or bad, or, like sometimes we do some things unintentionally without thinking, and then it's done. Can I trust you to come and own up to you about it? Will you listen to me? Will you judge me? Will you go to the office next door and tell them? So they are intellect in some way.
Just a comment. Thinking about the emotional bank account makes me think of another technique, or I don't know if I'm going to call it a technique, but another, and I'm sure, Adam, you know about the 5 love languages. Yes. And I think that's just in terms of relationships, that is so important, because you can be thinking you're loving me or whatever, but I'm not receiving it because that's not my love language. So just like a personal example, my love language is quality time. But if you're giving me words of affirmation, I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm not really taking it in, because it's just not how I receive love or care or whatever. So I think just in terms of this, it's very important to actually know. And sometimes it's a hard conversation to have, especially like with your family. It may be easier, or friends, but in terms of work, I think that's also just a little bit challenging to have that type of conversation, but I think it's so important as well, just to know.
If we can stay there for a minute, because that's critical, what you're raising, this piece about the mind will make up all kinds of ideas about whether I'm expressing love to you and you understand it and you get it and you'll like it, versus I don't feel safe enough to actually tell you that I really didn't like it. And, so how do we get through that? Or how do we understand more about that? What could be some things that, because you're right, it can be a challenging conversation to have. What could we do? Wait for some signals? We could ask. Okay. But why don't we ask?
We could simply ask.
Yeah, you're right. That is the answer. But a lot of the times we don't ask. Why do you think we don't ask?
Maybe afraid of the answer.
Yes, we're afraid of the answer.
I think also because people are not used to having uncomfortable conversations. So maybe it's about how do we help ourselves get to the space where we can be brave enough to have the uncomfortable conversation. Because I think that's where most people really struggle, is just having that bravery and confidence and, to do it. Yeah.
Sorry, say that last piece.
No, I was saying it's just about how do we help ourselves have the confidence and the bravery to do it. Because, even I was having a conversation with Adam yesterday about confrontation and how people are not, we just don't know how to do it. We don't know how to handle it, Maybe it's sometimes less about what the other person's going to say, because if you were trained to handle whatever it was that they were going to say, maybe that would help. So just about getting ready inside yourself to say, I'm okay to take whatever is going to happen right now, and being brave about it, I think, yeah.
There is something important that you're raising about the training. We mustn't estimate that you could learn how to do this and be more comfortable in it. And there's lots of training opportunities for you to develop that skill. It's a bit like learning how to walk.
Can I add to this? Sorry, Shakira. So going back to the slide that you had before, and building on trust, I think that's very important, because once trust is established, you feel more comfortable and you feel it's a safe space where you can express yourself without feeling judged and without it necessarily leading to confrontation. And I think that's very important to have as a foundation. That's definitely building a foundation and that relationship with an individual.
Oh no, I was just going to say that as people, we sometimes underestimate that even having the things like the bravery towards confrontation is something that can be trained. We think it's just people, some people just have it, some people don't, but actually you can learn,
Whatever you want to do in life, you can learn how to do it. I remember, I think it was, I don't know, 20 or 30 years ago, my boss at the time said, Shamima, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to train. And she, it was received with a lot of laughter, because it's like, what? No, you're not. But, you can learn to do whatever you want to do. So it's fantastic that the two of you are talking about trust. And Shakira, you were saying sometimes we just don't know how to approach that kind of feedback. And I'm assuming it's about and limiting the triggering as much as you possibly can, particularly if you don't have a relationship with someone where you are giving them feedback, right? So, would you be interested, drum roll, would you be interested in some tools and techniques that'll help you guide and navigate those kinds of relationships with different people, because we are all unique, right? Okay. So what I've done is I've prepared. Well, actually, before we do that, what I want to do is I want to introduce you to something you already know, and it's about personalities. So this is Jungian. For those of you who know Carl Jung, he came up with 21 different kinds of personalities. I think it was about 40 years ago, there was a brilliant businessman who took that 21 personalities and condensed it into 4 main types. And these personality types are what most of corporate South Africa are using at the moment, looking at color as a medium of learning to navigate conversations with each other. So let me introduce you to your 4 personality types. Now, don't get overexcited and go, Shamima, that one is me. And those of you at home, if you are with a partner or a friend or a neighbor, don't shout out what personality you are, because we're going to see if we can test and guess what each other's personalities are. So, let's flip over. Here. No? Okay, I've lost it. So, what you're seeing are 4 colors, right? And these 4 colors represent your energy. And by energy, we mean the way you tend to respond in different situations. 4 colors. Can you see this, Shakira?
Yes, I can.
So let's go through it briefly. So if we look at a blue personality, so let me just start off by saying all of us have all 4. Thank you for that reminder before we started. All of us have all 4, but we have a tendency to feel comfortable in 1 or 2 more than the other 2, okay? So we have our top 1 and we have our bottom 4, okay? So as we go through this, I want you to see if you can decide what is the color that I feel most comfortable in, that describes my personality the most, okay? So blue, reflective, observing, analytical, cautious, formal, and exacting.
Sorry, can I just ask, what is exacting? Apologies.
If I say, yeah.
Adam's doing this. I think that clears it up for me.
Clears
I get it.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Exacting. So blue personalities they're very stiptilic. Like what I say, rigid. What I say is what I expect you to do. And the lines mustn't be blurry. It must just be very clear. These are personalities that are not so much loud and out and proud. They're more quieter. They are extremely comfortable with a lot of detail. So if you think about, these are people who can read spreadsheets and do accounting and, and that's kind of like their safety zone, their safe space. Love to read, they love to absorb information. And then there's green empathic, concerned, informal, supportive, patient, and easygoing. These are the personalities that are, you can go to and have a chat with quite easily. These are the ones that have their sofas in the office where people can come and just have a quick coffee, relax for 5 minutes, say what's on their mind, and leave again, okay? They're the problem solvers, the social workers, okay? Then there's the yellow energy, very obvious, talkative, expressive, sociable, light-hearted, flamboyant, and enthusiastic. Yellow personalities love to chat. They love to share, and they tend to, when they're thinking about something, they think out loud. So they'll speak it. Where blues will be very quiet, and they'll think it in their minds, and then they'll express it. So those are the differences. And then red personality, focused, forceful, direct, challenging, dominant, action-orientated. They're the doers. They like to do. They like to create. They're often the visionaries. They think very quickly. They like to act really quickly. They're not so much talky, but I mean, if they're required to say something, they feel very comfortable to speak. So blue, green, yellow, and red. Are you ready to place your bets? Okay.
We're placing bets on ourselves?
No.
On others?
On others.
Okay.
So, you need a mic. Okay, so who wants to go first? We're just going to guess. We're just going to quickly guess.
Adam is definitely yellow. Without
so
a
Adam,
doubt.
you won't say anything. You'll just listen to us. So, Adam is yellow. Do you think yellow?
He has tendencies towards a blue and a green as well, but his dominant color would definitely be yellow.
Sorry, Adam. We're starting with you.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that I would say, it would be nice for you to actually do the online. There's an online profile for those of you interested. So do the profile. But I think you've got a lot of green in you. So tell us.
So yes, I think that is a fair statement. I think yellow would be my dominant color. I do, if I was to self-evaluate, I think that I have some of the red traits because I do like action and I'd like getting stuff done. I really wouldn't put myself too much in the green. I'm working on that. I'm trying to become a little bit more green. In fact, that actually is a focus.
I
think it's a balance. It's a good balance. And blue, no, blue. I don't know. When I just look at analytical, I don't even look at anything else. So I think that if I was going to put myself somewhere, it would be
that would be your comfort zone.
It would be kind of like
red.
here. Yeah, that would be me. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I'm keeping this, and we're going with Yajna next.
We're going to go with Yajna.
Okay,
We're going to go with Yajna. Guesses. What do you think?
Can I go? Yeah. I definitely see a bit of blue. Actually, a little bit more than a bit and a bit of blue in Yajna. And then green also. Yeah. I mean, I see elements, as you mentioned before, there's a little bit of everything in everyone, so it's hard to just choose one, With Yajna, it's a bit harder than with Adam. Adam is very sort of flamboyant and, but I think in that kind of blue-green space, with touches of red and yellow, but if I had to choose two, I'd go there, yeah.
Same. Blue. Same. Yeah, same. I think, there's sometimes a little bit of yellow comes through, but definitely dominant in blue and green.
She's purple for sure. She is purple down there.
do you mean purple as in a lot of blue or mix of blue and green? Or?
No, well, when I meant purple, I was just saying it in jest, but I do. I think she dominates in blue. I work with her every day.
Okay.
And but there is this side of empathy and support that she has. But I do think as well that she's got more yellow than we give her credit for in her, because she can be, Yeah, Yoshna is a very. I would place Yoshna kind of there. She's got a good balance.
I'm glad because she's been trained, right? So she's been trained in these colours.
Sorry. Strange enough, when I did the test about 7 years ago, I was a yellow over red.
What?
So it's strange. Not strange. It's amazing how I've shifted almost.
Yeah. That is amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I also thought you were high blue. I mean, somebody who comes up to you and doesn't know you and then starts asking a list of questions about what can we expect, what are the questions, what should we be thinking, how much airtime. I mean, that is so typically blue.
But sometimes people can be forced into different colors.
Yeah.
By necessity. Like you might be more this side, but in the role that you're in right now, this is needed right now, so you're being forced over to be blue. Interesting. And you, so let's Anna. No, this is your workshop.
Let's go to Leanne.
Yep.
I'd be interested to guess. Because she's a bit more challenging. So, I mean, I would guess green blue, but more green than blue.
Maybe I can go.
Yeah.
I think.
You're yellow. Of course you're going to go. Oh, my gosh.
Now I feel like I can't go. But I'm going to go anyway because I got a bit of red in me. Right. So I think that Leanne, I can't place her on a dominant color. I'm struggling here because I do see elements of red in Leanne. I see those elements. She's a little bit away from yellow. I see that as the fourth at the bottom, but I do see elements of red and green. I would kind of focus around that, which I think is actually a pretty good mix. But yeah.
But now I'm just going to complicate this a bit. So it depends how you view it. If you see Leanne in a group versus Leanne one-on-one, it's a different situation because a lot of the yellow comes out in Leanne.
With one-on-one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's something I've picked up. Also when you...
That's green. One-on-one yellow is usually green.
Is it? Okay. Okay. And then I personally feel she's very reflective.
Yes.
So there's a lot of blue coming out and exacting as well, at times formal. So,
yeah.
This is very interesting, Leanne. I feel like we should just talk about you for the rest of the session because this is also, let's avoid talking about me, but okay. So it's interesting because I was also in the space of like, okay, so what do I choose? But then the first color that got my attention was red. Because I see Leanne is very focused. The word dominant is an interesting one because you think when I think of dominance, I think of someone who wants to control everything, which is not like Leanne, but she's dominant in her own way. It's quite an interesting, But then there's definitely elements of blue also. Reflective, observing, very. Leanne loves to observe, yeah. But I don't work with her as closely as Yajna and Adam, so maybe, they obviously know her a bit better than me and a side of her that I might not,
So, Leanne, what's it like for you to be sitting here? Don't tell us what color you are, but what's it like for you to be sitting here and having these people discuss you? What does it feel like?
It's actually very intriguing. Because I had one, maybe two particular colors in mind, but it's interesting to hear and to see how people view me. Which is not a bad thing. I'm not like offended at all. But it's just interesting because I think sometimes people have in your own mind you have this perception of who you are, but you don't actually know how other people view you. So it's good. I actually enjoyed it.
So I'm going to go with green. What color do you?
Yeah, I was strongly leaning towards green, blue.
Green, blue. Mm. Great. Thank you. Shakira.
No, I don't want to start this.
Okay. I see a lot of yellow, but also a lot of red. In Shakira. I think she can have a bit of blue if she wants to. And definitely green as well. Tendencies of green.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yellow. And red.
Yellow and red?
No, it's literally 50-50.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes,
50-50,
because she's
yellow,
very
red.
action-orientated,
Okay,
especially the space that you're in, having your own business, interacting with individuals. I think from a professional point of view, she's definitely quite dominant with red. But because her role requires her to also interact with individuals, she also needs to bring in the social aspect. And that social aspect is also quite dominant. Yeah. She's very out there, very confident, very sociable.
I was leaning towards red as well. But I would say yellow, maybe not as much as Adam. Like Adam is just over the top. But definitely I see between red and yellow, because there definitely is that focus, get stuff done. Like that's there definitely. But also, that need to be out there and open. So yeah.
So more red than yellow. Okay.
So, Shakira I see as yellow, and I see as the secondary green. And that's kind of been my experience of her. I do see elements of red, but I would never put her as a red person. I see her as action-orientated, yes, but those are the other elements from the other that I see that are her strength. But I would place her kind of here, in between yellow and green.
I would have gone with a equal mix of red, yellow, and green. But and then...
There's just no blue in you. There's no blue in you.
There is.
Is
Come
there?
on, I've worked with her. She does have some blue, but I would give as much percentage to green and yellow as red. But you do come across as quite red-ish. Okay, so you tell us.
This was the most nerve-wracking thing that's happened to me all year. Wow.
How did it feel?
Now that everyone's done, I'm not nervous anymore. I was really nervous. I'm quite perspiring.
How did it feel
right now?
But why were you perspiring? How did you feel?
Very nervous and anxious is the word. Not nervous. Anxious is the word.
Because
I'm a massive people pleaser and I want people to like me, and also hearing what other people have to say about you is very. I don't think I took it as well as Leanne. Leanne was so relaxed. I was like, whoo. But okay, back to my colors. Very interesting that people see me in red. I mean, I guess I can see why, but interesting to me. I definitely think I'm a yellow-green kind of person. Initially, my first color I would have thought of was yellow. Blue, not at all. The only thing in blue that kind of speaks to me is reflective. I'm highly reflective and self-critical, extremely. But that's about. But I'm not a blue person at all. I'm very, very green. And it's interesting how Yajna and Leanne don't see that in me, because thank you, Adam, because I think I'm a bit.
Got your back.
I saw that in you.
Oh yes, true.
I said equal.
Yeah.
This and that.
So if I were to choose two colors, I think it would be yellow and green. Yellow being the one that's probably more out there. Yeah.
And do you take it as a compliment that we see some red in you?
Definitely.
Okay, great.
100%.
Some people interpret that as, I don't want to be dominant. It's actually quite a cool thing to be able to do sometimes when needed,
I don't see being dominant as a negative thing.
Yeah.
I think, and especially because we're doing a workshop on self-leadership, you can even just be dominant within your own space and your own self and how you navigate the world. And so, yeah.
But that, sorry if I may, that might go back to also confrontation. As we were talking about confrontation, I see confrontation as a positive thing, if done right. And I guess the same thing is with dominant. It can be a very positive thing.
Yeah. So just to add, for those of you who are watching online, take the time and decide, what's my top color, what's my lowest color, and invite your families and friends, show them the chart and say, do you know me? Or sometimes it's nice for you to, in terms of your self-leadership, to have an understanding of how other people actually see you. So there might be some benefit for you there. What color do you think I am? Of course, you got to get it right, eh? Yeah. It's got to be like it's got to be spot on. Otherwise,
if I had to put you in a color from only knowing you today, I would put you in. I'm also struggling, like with Leanne, I'm struggling, but I would put you in this category here. I do think that you're expressive.
That's the easy way out.
I think that you have to be expressive to be able to do what you do. But also I think that this is very heavily, because you need to have this in order to do what you do. And then you need to have this. So I would say you're probably the most central out of all of us. I would put you at a very, and I'm not trying to be safe because I'm yellow, I'm never safe, but I would put you quite central.
And if you had to be forced to pick one, what would you pick? Green.
Don't look. Okay, I feel like I'm going to peer pressure over here because you guys are all telling me what I need to pick here. So I would say yes, green.
Yeah. So I'm actually off the scale red, but I've been fired so many times from jobs and, client will say, Shamima, how did the training go today? I'd be, it was fantastic. And then, please don't go back tomorrow. So I've trained myself to drop this a little bit. And this is why it's important in your self-leadership and when you're thinking about that emotional bank account and you're thinking about developing trust, loyalty, having supportive relationships. If you're just going to be red and bulldozing and being dominant, it's going to be you give others very little space to step into your zone. So ideally, for you to analyze where do I need to have more of the other colors and where do I need to use less of that particular color, and to be constantly thinking about how am I being seen, how am I being understood, and this is one of the ways that you could ask the question when there's potential conflict, is to, if there was potential conflict or you wanted to give some feedback to someone, please take into account what their colors are, because it would probably be easiest to give feedback to who?
The green person?
Yes, right? You don't have to have some anxiety about it. Don't waste your time, because they will be willing to listen. They might not like what you say. They might not agree, but they're not going to be so triggered, okay? How do you think blues will respond to negative feedback?
I think a blue person probably wouldn't respond immediately. I think they would listen to you and then maybe say a few things, but then say something like, I'll come back to you, or they'll just sort of say thank you and then leave, and then tomorrow when you see them around the office, they might be like, hey, Shakira, so that conversation yesterday, let's.
I think a blue person needs time to process and to fully understand instead of rushing to a conclusion. So it's very important to have that time to process what's being said, how it's being said, because they analyze it. So it would take a lot longer to understand what's being communicated and then for them to respond back.
That's critical. So if it's a blue personality, give it some time. Like sometimes sleep on it or take a couple of days, because if it's depending on the level of emotional intensity, the blue person might need some time. Who won't need time? Who would be open to red? Red would, because then yellow, yes, but these are very different. So reds, you can go to and say, yo, Shamima, that was really bad. Like, I expected something different. I will take that information in, process it, and it wouldn't be such a big deal. But for someone who's yellow, Adam, you might have, because these are the emotional colors, right? They're feeling colors. These are head colors, people in their heads. So you would need to think a little bit more. Like with me, you don't have to soften your words. You can just say, "Yo, that was really bad." You wouldn't necessarily say that with Adam. You'd change the words slightly. This is the magic of colors, because then you would say something like, you'd key off Adam and let him lead you rather than just tell him. So you'd say, "Adam, how did that go? Like, what do you think?"
Can't get this mic on quick enough because I'm an expressive person and talkative. But you see, I disagree. Not necessarily with what you're saying, but just with how, if I'm so far yellow, when people feed back to me, like we talk about it. Like I don't have to feel about it. I don't have to, I'm like, all right, let's chat, let's talk, okay? Yeah, you're either right or you're either wrong. Or you either have a valid point, because I'm very hot on like actually getting the challenge done. Like we got to, sorry, the goal, the action. I want to get the action done. So if I'm standing in the way and it's my fault, then I need to know I'm over. So this is what, and this brings me to a question I had that I've been itching to ask. Say again?
No, I wanted to say something. No, but what's the question? It's fine.
Sure, and I don't know if the question will deviate.
We'll come to you. Don't worry.
But just because I'm yellow, for example, doesn't mean I have to give up anything in yellow to become more blue. And I think that's a distinguishing factor from what I'm learning from here, is that I'm kind of initially looked at this like, if I want to become more blue, I need to give up more of who I might be a little bit, and I need to become less yellow.
I don't even know if that's like humanly possible.
Yeah, right? Maybe. And that's my question, is that, you know? You
can definitely skill up to have more blue, so you can practice being reflective, analytical. You can do, like anyone can do that if you want to. But we wouldn't want you to walk away from who you are. I don't even think that's possible. Shakira.
I have a question, but then I also wanted to make a comment about Adam. I do see that the cameramen are signaling us about time, so I just wanted to very quickly I'll ask. So I love how you're saying take the other person's color into consideration. That's probably one of the most powerful things that I've learned here today, particularly when it comes to confrontation. But how do you control yourself when that person is so different to you? So if I can just make an example, I like to talk, I'm very expressive and highly emotional. So I can talk about our feelings and get very deep very quickly right now. Let's talk it out. Let's find out the problem from our 20 years ago that's affecting us, what we're doing right now, you know. But what if I'm talking to a blue person? I can't wait. It will make me so anxious if I had to give that person 2 days to come back to me. I would not sleep, you know. And so often, and I know this about myself, I force people to give me an answer now, which puts them in a difficult position. So how do I control myself when the other person is so different to me? And how do I just, I don't know, be more compassionate about what they need to do to, yeah, I'm not easygoing, no.
Shakira, sorry, can I add to that? I think, to answer your question in a sense, by us being more aware of these different traits or personality types, that trains us on how we respond to individuals. Because I'm very similar to you, and I deal with a lot of blue people. And even though I have tendencies to be blue, I also need to be more cognizant of the fact that I'm dealing with a blue person, and as much as I need an answer right now because I need to go, and I'm very direct, sometimes it just reminds you to take a step back and to give the other individuals a chance. So I think it's just being more aware and practicing it consistently.
Yeah, that's a big question, and that's the whole thing about this leadership space is when we are... We're in this fearful space, which is this future expectations appearing real. You've heard about this, right? It's like we set it up in our minds to be afraid of sometimes things that we are not sure is going to happen. So you'll wait, you'll be anxious for 2 days until somebody comes back and says, you're fine. For that, I mean, the recommendation is you can't get over it really. There's no quick answer. It's really just exploring. Like, why am I nervous about this? To ask those questions. Why am I making such a big deal about this? What is this about? What am I afraid of? What am I scared of? What am I thinking is going to happen? And then to write down what your answer is and then check, is that true, what I'm thinking, or is it false? Or is it actually, I don't know. And can I let it go? And can I wait for the 2 days until I get the response? But exploring your emotional triggers is a big body of work. And if you are wanting to explore leadership, I definitely encourage you to go on that route. So our time is up, and it's just, thank you guys so much for willing to be part of this audience at such a, with such short notice. It's lovely to be here. So if I can invite...
While they're talking, I just want to say thank you. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to Shamima. Thank you to the participants as well. I'm sure you may have learned, you have definitely learned a lot about yourself, like I did as I was sitting as part of the audience. Thank you so much to Shamima. Thank you so much to the audience once again, to the participants. I also want to thank Cape Argus, and on behalf of the institution itself, we want to thank everybody that's joined, wherever you are in the world. This brings to a close our Reclaiming Agency event of 2020. 2 days ago, we brought you a series we brought you some workshops on business, and we brought you some yesterday on community, and today we're ending it off with self-leadership. And what a great way, Shamima, to end it like this, because as the year's drawing to a close, I'm sure a lot of people are, looking at how they want to begin their 2021, and this is one of the best ways for us to end it. The show is coming to an end. The Reclaiming Agency event itself, the workshops, the panel discussions, and everything is coming to an end. I'm looking forward to you joining us later today as we celebrate the institution's 50th anniversary through a concert. The concert will be live streamed on all our social media platforms from 6:30 to 8:30. So please do tell your friends that we've got an exciting lineup. Please do join us. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.